Okay, guys, can you hear me? It might be a bit loud because the audio mixer just went red. Good. If you can hear me, that's great because I've had trouble with the audio in the past, and yeah, it can be pretty funny if the sound is out for like a few minutes. But if there's anything with the audio, you guys let me know in the chat. So welcome everybody, welcome to another live stream. It's good to be back. I didn't have a live stream last week because it wasn't a very good time for it. The kids were very rowdy, so it wasn't. I didn't want to do one because I knew they would just cause a lot of trouble, and they've caused trouble before in the stream anyway. I've got one in bed right there, so I'm just hoping he doesn't wake up just yet. It's 9 a.m. and I think I've got a solid hour or so before he gets up. So we'll try to keep it to about an hour and a half ish. I know I say that all the time and then it goes like over 2 hours, but we'll try and do an hour and a half. And if I have to cut out something, like if I have to cut out the Elgato Streamdeck stuff, that's fine. I can always do it another time. I just wanted to show you the cool toy that I got. So let's talk about the things that I want to talk about today. So obviously, as you saw in the thumbnail, we had the Odin Handheld, which I made a video about yesterday. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I tried to keep that video to about 10 minutes because anytime it goes over 10 minutes, people don't want to click on it. So if it's under 10, it's like, okay, well, I'll give this a shot. So there's more things about it that I wanted to talk about that I cut out of the video. I think my video ran for like 15 minutes. So we'll get into that. And also, there's been some updates to it as well. The AN team, they made some updates to the Indiegogo campaign. So I wanted to just, I guess, well, a lot less people watch the live stream. So I don't even know how many people are going to watch this. But I did want to just get my thoughts across on those new updates. Hello everybody. So hello Optic Gamer, hello Don Draper, hello Dying Meme. Don Draper taking care of knees right now. Well, it really depends on how old they are, right? Like if they're over 10, I guess they've kind of gone out of those tantrum 5-year-olds. Like my 5-year-old is just having tantrums all the time. I guess you would call them anger management issues. So especially like when he gets out of control, it's very hard to contain him because you kind of also get triggered as well. I think this is just the way the world is going, right? Like the entire world is just getting triggered all the time. And I'm getting triggered by my 5-year-old. And I think it's okay to say that, when we're young, we get mad and we don't know why we get mad. So what was I talking about? I was talking about the Odin Handheld. So we've got the Odin Handheld on the thumbnail, and then we've also got Cyberpunk 2077. Now, some people might think, well, that's two very, very different audiences, and that's kind of right, but that's kind of like where I'm sitting at the moment because I'm the type of person who likes everything. So I like modern AAA games, I like PC hardware, I like retro stuff. So that's me in a nutshell. So I'm hoping to find more people like that. If you just like one or the other, that's great as well. I just don't want everybody to fight over random stuff like like a PC is so much better than a retro handheld, that sort of thing. So hopefully we can find some common ground and stuff like that. Lord Crydon, how are you going? Walking the dogs right now, listening to your stream. I have Cyberpunk 1.3 paused, and so far so good, but I did crash once. So they just can't stop these crashes, can they? So there's something broken. Yeah, like there's an underlying problem with the game that's just held by duct tape. And the more they try to fix it, they're getting better, but they're just trying to fix over cracks. So we'll get into Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to talk about the new 1.3 patch. And we're also going to talk about the fact that Best Buy is selling it for $10 now. So, when those reviews came out, I figured this would happen at some point because, sorry, not reviews, but like the backlash about the fact that it wasn't a very good game in the end. And yes, there were people who got super excited about it. I got super excited about it. But after I played it, I knew that I just felt like, you know, in the first few hours, I didn't feel like it was a very good game. And I didn't actually go back and play it after that initial period. So yeah, I guess there's lots to talk about there. Hello, Benjamin Ford. So disappointed with Cyberpunk. Haven't even launched it because it's so buggy. I mean, well, why don't you just give it a go? Because I think the game is fine. I just don't like the game personally. Like, in terms of the game design, it doesn't suit me. Especially, like, you know, coming from The Witcher as well. The Witcher, such a very different feeling, organic experience that I almost feel like Cyberpunk doesn't capture that Cyberpunk world for me. And I'm not the world's foremost expert on Cyberpunk. I don't know everything about Cyberpunk. I like the theme, but I just feel like there are other games that do Cyberpunk a little bit better. Okay, what else have we got? We've got Xbox Game Pass stuff. I don't want to talk too much about that because then I'll feel like I'm just promoting Xbox Game Pass. But just wanted to update people on the games that came out in August. We've got the Simpsons arcade machine. So I think that's, you know, that ties in well with the retro stuff. So I want to talk about that, or at least show off some pictures of that. We've also got Among Us getting upset with Fortnite. I don't know if you guys play Among Us or Fortnite. The kids play Among Us, so I sometimes watch them play it. So I guess we'll talk about that. I think that's very interesting, actually. The Epic Game Store is going to be very much like Steam Direct in terms of the way they're publishing the games. So there's an interesting article about that. The Video Cards has an article about NB Miner unlocking the 3060 or the LHR series. So they've already done it before with the 3060, and now they've done it with all of the TI cards and all of the LHR cards. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then finally, I want to talk about the Odin, the handheld that will be available tomorrow on the Indiegogo campaign. I think it's tomorrow. I mean, I guess it depends where you are. It's August the 19th. It's August 19th here. So, yeah, it'll be tomorrow for people over in the US. And one more thing, I guess, give you guys a sneak peek. I wanted to make a video about this, but I made a guide on this. Let me show you. Let me see if I can get into my other view. Okay, so this is my new toy that I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. So I got a Streamdeck XL. I had a lot of trouble with my stream a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't very happy with it. So I decided to get myself one of these. It's quite expensive. It was about $250. So if we have time today, I'd like to just have a quick look at what I've set up here on the Stream Deck, and I think it's pretty cool. Like, I don't know if you guys can hear that. You can probably hear that. So I'm gonna try and have a little bit of fun with that in the streams. So we'll set that up. So let's get back to the main screen if I can. We've got some chat here. Let me do the chat first, and then we'll go into our news. Is it worth it for $10? Yeah, it's worth it for $10, just to like goof around in it. I would say $20 if you like graphics. Like it does look pretty good. I won't say it's the best looking game. Like, I feel like artistically, something like Red Dead Redemption 2 is a much better looking game artistically. Like, it's just more impressive. It looks more like a water color painting in Red Dead Redemption 2. Whereas Cyberpunk doesn't give me that. It's more technical. Okay, Benjamin Ford, fair enough. After the 1.3 patch, maybe I'll set some aside to try it. Lord Crichton, it really is a solid story in-game. I definitely like The Witcher 3 more, but this is my second playthrough on PC, and the world definitely draws me in. Yeah, I think I just need some more time to get into the story more, whereas I don't really feel like the first few hours it really does that. So I guess I just have to play it a bit more. But that's kind of like on the back burner a little bit because I got a ton of other stuff that I'm playing at the moment. I've got a lot of Switch games that I want to play. I want to at least play Dragon Quest 11. So that's 100 hours. It's going to take a while to play that. And then maybe I'll come back and play something else on PC. I still have Yakuza Like a Dragon that I haven't finished. So yeah, really behind. Videos come first. So got to make videos first and then I'm playing games. The dying meme would need to play on original Xbox One. Wait, there's a Steam Deck XL. It's not. It's a Stream Deck. It's a Stream Deck, and then you push buttons on it because like you can do these sort of like macro things where you can get multi actions on them. So if I press a button, it will do like 10 actions in a row. It's easier than me pressing 10 buttons on the computer. So if I play this, I can play like a meme.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
And then have it come back straight to me, and that was super annoying to set up. I made a video about that, but yeah, you can do cool things like that where you just press a button. Whereas if I had to do it in OBS, I'd have to go in there and then toggle on and off the video, toggle on and off the sound, blah, 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 etc., etc. Okay, so that's enough of that. Hello, MFPV Detroit. How are you? I keep looking at that screen, I'm sorry. That's where the second monitor is. So I apologize for that. I need to look in the camera right here. But let's go into the browser and talk about the news because we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Let me see if I can do that. All right, here we go. And again, if the sound ever cuts off, that's because, you know, I set that all up with the Stream Deck. And inside the Stream Deck, if I press a button, it's supposed to like turn on and off the sound. If I haven't, then let me know in the chat. So things could be a little bit dicey today because this is the first time we're going through it all. So let me know so I can fix it in the Stream Deck. Once it's fixed, I think it should be okay next time. Okay. Let's go with this because I made a video about this, about Intel DG2. Now, everybody made videos about this, so I guess I got a little bit less views than normal, but that's perfectly fine. So Intel Arc DG2. Now, I'll just quickly talk about this because I already made the video, and then I'll talk more in the chat in that video anyway. So if you guys, you know, want to talk about that, you can just go into that video and talk about it, or you know, in the live stream here, you can talk about in the chat here. But Cop i7 Kimmy, he has a lot of leaks about Nvidia and Nvidia GPUs. He says that Intel Arc DG2 seems very strong in performance. So he also agrees that just by looking at the specs that are currently at the moment and how it's expected to perform, given how the Intel Iris Xe graphics perform, given that that's 96 execution units and we're looking at 512 execution units, that the Intel Arc DG2, when it releases next year in the first quarter, that is also going to be really good as well. And that's what I speculated or estimated in my video. Now, if you look at these specs or these SKUs, you have a 96 execution unit. I don't know if that will actually come out because previously it was always these other four SKUs, 128, 256, 384, and 512. But I guess they could make a 96 because that is basically their chip for the integrated graphics anyways. So they could just carry that across in terms of that design. And both of these have GDDR6. So I forgot what the actual speed was for GDDR6. Could be like 8,000 mega transfers per second, but that should compensate for the fact that it only has a 64-bit bus, and it will be okay if you want to play things like Dota 2 or League of Legends, that sort of thing. The SKU 3 with 128-bit, that's kind of like the RX 6600 XT. But again, that would just be for 1080p gaming, because we saw in a lot of the reviews for the 6600 XT that after 128, well, after 1080p, 128-bit isn't very good anymore. So like if you try to play a 1440p and 4K, you lose quite a bit of performance. Like the 128 memory bus bottlenecks the performance of that card or the execution units. So yeah, really, if you were to get this would really be for 1080p gaming. We don't know what the prices and things like that are going to be just yet, but yeah, the 6600 XT, I gotta say, like 379 is a little bit steep. I know there's tons of inflation and everything like that going on, so maybe 379 isn't worth what 379 was like 2 years ago. That being said, I just don't feel like people have the that mindset that 379 is good value for this, and a lot of it is mindset, a lot of it is perception about how people are going to write about this or make videos about it. So I think 379 is kind of just, it's too expensive for a 1080p video card, especially when we've got PS5s, and we've got PS5 at 399. So when you come with a 128-bit memory bus, that's really not good enough on PC, especially if you have to get all the other components, which could set you back, like, you know, you're looking at $700-800 for a PC with a $400 graphics card, and $800 you can only play 1080p. You might as well get a PS5. Like, I know resolution isn't everything, but it doesn't represent good value for somebody who's trying to decide. So I think, yeah, let's hope this SKU 3 is decently priced. You know, when I first made my video a few months ago on the 6600 XT, I did say at the end of the video, yeah, it's looking like it could be like 349, 399. I think I said that, but I was really hoping that it'd be like 299 or even 249, because 249 is probably the right price for this. 249 and 199 if we got lucky, but you know, in this environment, there's no way it's going to be 199. 249, 299 is where this needed to be for 1080p gaming, especially when you consider the PS5 console is 399. Okay, anyway, then we have a SKU 2, which is 384 execution unit, 512 execution unit. Let me just quickly show you what I estimated. So what we're talking about here is like a 128 execution unit is 4.4 teraflops, which is about a 1650 Ti Max Q. The 256 execution unit model is an RTX 2060, so that could be like, you know, $300-400. Again, very much like that RX 6600 XT. The 384 execution unit could be like $500, and then the 512 might be $600, like the RTX 3070 Ti. So that's what we're looking at here, and I think I made a video 6 months ago on this Intel DG2 or the Intel Alchemist, and at the time I said it was about RTX 3070. So not much has changed. I guess now we have a 3070 Ti, we can actually say that it's a 3070 Ti. It is a touch better, but that might be because it's running at 2.2 gigahertz now. We didn't know what clock speed that it was going to run at. And by the way, this is a leaked clock speed from a Geekbench test, so or a test entry. So it could be a false entry in Geekbench, but I think 2.2 gigahertz makes sense for now. For this rumor anyway, because the mobile chips run at 1.6 gigahertz. Okay, so I'll stop it there for the Intel DG2 stuff, because you can go and watch that video anyway. But let me have a look at some of the chat. Craig, do you know if the internet is fast enough in Australia to run xCloud and Stadia? Thanks. I can only go off like the speeds that I'm used to. So I'm actually in Malaysia at the moment. I live here. I plan to go back to Australia at some point. So in terms of Australia's speed, you're looking at what, like 25 to 100 megabits per second, and yeah, 100 would be perfectly fine. 25 is touch and go. 25 should be fine, but again, like you could run into days where you're running a bit slow. I think 10 might be a little bit tight. Well, I think you normally would divide it by 8 to get it into megabytes per second. So if you're looking at 25 megabits per second divided by 8, which would be 3 megabytes a second, I think 3 megabytes per second, if you're downloading at that speed, should be okay. Again, of course, there's also latency effects as well. So that would also need to be taken into account, especially if there's lots of people online as well. So I think it should be fine on 25, 50, but definitely you're fine if you get 100 megabits per second. Okay, dying meme would likely mostly be restricted by input lag. Yeah, exactly. So again, latency, input lag. It might not feel good to play if you press a button and you're 200 milliseconds behind. So it might not be something you're used to, because when you play through a console, typically at around 100 milliseconds, maybe at the most like 150 milliseconds. So if you're on a bad you're on a bad connection, it could be like 200-300 milliseconds. It'll just feel off. Like you'll press a button and you'll instantly feel that it's not the same. And you may as well just go and download the game then. And because it's on xCloud, I'm assuming that you are kind of talking about Xbox Game Pass as well. And if you're on Xbox Game Pass, those same games are available to download, so you could just do that. Dying meme, the xCloud on low power, low internet phone works okay without audio. Oh, and the other thing is, I guess you could, because you're xCloud, right? And if you're playing on a smaller screen, say like a mobile, you could turn down the resolution a little bit. I believe you can do that. I've never used xCloud, but I'd be surprised if they didn't let you have some various settings in there to adjust it for your internet connection. Okay, let's move on to the first story of the day. Let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077. I've only briefly looked at the DLC, the patch notes, so we'll have to run through this together. But it says here, and this is from IGN, Cyberpunk 2077's first DLC is cosmetic, full 1.3 patch notes revealed. And it says here, firstly, the upcoming DLC included in the 1.3 patch will all be cosmetic. It will include 2 jackets, thank you very much. One vaguely looks like the red jacket from Akira, a new car, and a new outfit for Johnny Silverhand. Now, it's really weird when they say a new car, because like there must be tons of cars in Cyberpunk 2077, so what's so special about this car? We'll have to wait and see. As previously announced, the DLC in Cyberpunk 2077 will be free, while the bigger narrative expansions will be paid. This is the same DLC versus expansion model used for The Witcher 3. Okay, that's great. Says here there are hundreds of changes, from quality of life improvements, quest updates, and more. Some of the bigger improvements include changes to the mini-map while you drive, the ability to respect your character's perks, and a little change that makes it easier to choose your partner in the quest. Automatic love. Okay. Let's have a look at these. So there are 3 DLCs here. Johnny Silverhand's alternative appearance can be enabled in settings in the additional content tab. That's pretty cool. You know what I love about games is like making the characters look goofy in the cutscenes. So there are some games that allow you to change all the costumes of all the different characters in cutscenes. So I really love that. Like one of them is Sleeping Dogs, and you can just change the appearance of your main character. I know that's from a while ago, but I love the way that it does that. Whereas some other games, like you put on costumes and things like that, and then when you go into the cutscene, it looks like it's the cutscene character with the original clothing, and that's kind of annoying. I think Yakuza is a little bit like that. And also, there are a lot of JRPGs, or even just RPGs in general, that let you customize your character, and then you can't actually see it. So Cyberpunk is kind of like that as well, because you can't really see your character anyway. But anyway, let me keep reading. Multi-layered sin leather delta jock jacket, luminescent punk jacket. Okay, so these are the 2 jackets that you're going to get, and the Archer Quartz Bandit, which is available as a reward or for purchase depending on choices made by player after completing Ghost Town and then receiving a message from Dakota or Rogue. If you haven't received a message, make sure to be in the Badlands area and move further away from Dakota's workshop. Dakota will also need a couple of days to contact you. Could be some spoilers there, I don't know. I'm not that far into it. I'm about 3 or 4 hours into it. So there are a range of improvements in there. Let me just read a few of them off. Let me just read the first few ones, and then we'll talk about the rest of the game. Improvements: improve the mini map's zoom level when driving so that it's more zoomed out and easier to navigate. That's great. Yeah, it was way too zoomed in. Like, it was literally just on your car and you couldn't really see where to go. So that's pretty cool. Automatic love. Screen with pictures of Sky and Angel will be displayed substantially longer, making it easier to choose between the two. Okay. Added a button which allows to reallocate the distribution of perk points on a character's skill tree. That's good. Increase the number of slots for auto saves from 10 to 20 and for quick saves from 3 to 10 across all platforms. Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't even know. I guess auto save is a little bit different to quick save. They all sound the same to me. I really can't stand when games only have a limited number of save slots. Like, please, I've got a massive 3 terabyte hard drive. Let me save games. Added an accessibility option for center of screen dot overlay, which helps with avoiding motion sickness. Okay, I like that. I like anything that reduces motion sickness, because that's what I get in any first-person shooter game. And yeah, the other thing is, like, you know those ray tracing videos that I make? A lot of them are first-person shooters. So after about half an hour, 45 minutes, yeah, I really need to take a rest. So those videos are hard to make, which is one reason why I haven't done my Doom Eternal ray tracing video yet. I don't even know if I will, because I think the moment has passed anyway. I will definitely take a look at it and play it for myself, just to, I guess, build on my ray tracing knowledge. But I don't know if that video will come, because yeah, playing those games take a long time for me, and then it means that I can't make other videos. Fixers will now message V to offer a car for purchase less often. Improve the screen space reflections effect so that it looks less grainy on consoles, and lower visual settings qualities. Oh, well, that is really interesting. Lower visual quality settings. Okay, look, I think that's interesting enough for me. Well, let me have a look first. One problem I had with Cyberpunk 2077 was how close it looked between low settings and high settings. So let me go to the browser or YouTube search. Graphics settings comparison Cyberpunk. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I can't really tell that much of a difference between low and ultra. I mean, I guess I'll play through it. There might be ads or something like that, but they look really close. Now this is from December 10, 2020, so when this game first came out. And I was questioning whether there was something up with that, because the PS4 obviously had lower quality settings, and I was wondering why they weren't actually in the game. And you can see, like, it's really hard to tell the differences between the two in terms of graphic quality settings. So if there is a difference, I'd be definitely keen to look at the differences. I mean, if you're inside, it's really hard to tell, like in terms of shadows, in terms of the reflections everywhere. Even on the Ultra, there doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of reflections. or at least the same quality reflections. So it's kind of nuts, really. So that is really interesting. That I'll stop it there, by the way. The hair, I guess, yeah, it could be, yeah, the hair. I mean, so maybe there's like a different light source in the Ultra versus the low graphics, and there is a shadow missing now that I look at it again. So they've just pulled out some shadows here. You can see around this jar there's less shadowing and ambient occlusion versus the Ultra one. And also she doesn't have a shadow and her face doesn't have a shadow. But a lot of the detailing around both are very similar. At least that's what it was like back in December 10. Don't know what it looks like now. I'd like to go back in and check it out. But even say like the glowing lights at the top here, they look very identical. Okay. Let's go to the other news for Cyberpunk 2077 today. And The Verge has an article. It says here, Cyberpunk 2077 for consoles is just $10 today at Best Buy. CD Projekt Red's latest game is in the bargain bin. The game, I'm wondering what part I should read. If you've ever said to yourself, I think I'll wait to buy Cyberpunk 2077 until it's like $10 or so, then today is your day to act on that. Best Buy has knocked the price down for the much anticipated RPG that promptly landed a little flat on its face when it released late last year. Excuse me. Due to myriad performance issues. Well, I think it's more than just performance issues. Because I'm not sure if the game is actually very, very good, at least for the first few hours anyway, which is a problem, right? Because like, yes, the game could get better later on, but if you're not grabbing people at the start, people are just going to move on to something else. Many of those issues have been resolved, and developer CD Projekt Red has been steadily updating the game, although the game still might not be what some were hoping for. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you get the idea that... Okay, that's not it. So it's $10, right? And this is just the consoles version only. Now, the interesting thing is that there's a PS4 version and a Xbox One version, and they both give you a free upgrade to the PS5 and Xbox Series version when they are launched. They said that it was going to be this year. So, could we see it this year? No, I don't even know right now, because there's only 3 or 4 months left and they've just been so quiet about it. So but anyways, if you buy this, you'll get that next gen version, and there'll probably also come a next gen remastered version anyway. And maybe this is why they're clearing these out now, so that they can stock those remastered versions in later, and then everybody has to go and buy those remastered versions rather than this $10 version now. So if you're over in the US, yeah, grab yourself a copy of, like, even if you don't have a PS5 yet, you could just grab this for $10, and then you could use this on your PS5 later when you get your PS5. But yeah, as I said before with Cyberpunk 2077, one of the problems that I had was that it felt like a lot of it was closed off. So I guess, you know, when I started playing, I was doing a lot of like testing around in terms of benchmarks and stuff like that. So I didn't really play that much aside from the first few hours of the game. But I did drive around a lot, testing the performance and frame rate and that sort of thing. But it really felt like a lot of the city wasn't available, I guess, because you see all of these skyscrapers everywhere, and you can't really go everywhere like you want to. The world doesn't really feel like... It's almost like it's too big for its own good. So maybe, I think that could have been a part of the problem. If they made it a little bit more dense, and because it's supposed to be Cyberpunk, I think that could have been okay. But now they've made it like this open world driving everywhere. It leaves it really open. They wanted that GTA aspect to it, but I'm not sure that GTA aspect really fits with the Cyberpunk stuff. I guess, you know, I can't really comment that much because that would be unfair. I'd just be randomly just talking about what I want rather than what the game actually is. But it felt a little bit off at the start. And then the characters were, you were playing Geralt, right? And with Geralt, you already have that character and his mannerisms, and you're watching that character. You're not really Geralt. I mean, you're playing as Geralt, but and you can change the skill tree and all that sort of thing, but the character itself is fun to watch Geralt. But now V doesn't have all of those personalities and traits that Geralt has, so it's almost like it's a blank slate at the start with V, and so he doesn't come off with as much personality in the game. And I think that was part of the problem as well. He's very empty, I guess, as you would say. Maybe later on, as you do more quests and things, then you can kind of build up his story. But at the start, V is kind of boring. That's pretty much the simplest way to put it. So I think at some point I will probably play it. But right now, I'm just a little bit too busy to play it. I ended up getting a lot of Switch games, and so because I paid a lot of that for that, so I better play those Switch games. And then maybe I'll come back to Cyberpunk 2077 sometime. I think a year off isn't that bad a thing. I mean, you know, CD Projekt Red, they come out with a game every 5-6 years anyways. So I just have to play this before the next game comes out or the expansion comes out. Okay, so I want to get through a lot of these stories pretty quick. And if you guys have any questions, I'll also answer your questions, but just after each story. So let's talk a little bit about Game Pass. And as I said before, I don't want to talk too much about Game Pass because then it feels like I'm just promoting this thing. And everybody talks about Game Pass anyway. It's kind of overdone. Everybody knows about Game Pass. So I just thought that this month was pretty cool. Like, if we click on the games that people are getting on Game Pass this month, we've got Need for Speed Heat, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And I feel like they almost didn't need to get EA Play. And I guess that kind of brings in some of those sports gamers because they don't have to... I guess they can just sign up for this Game Pass. And I think that makes Xbox look more like the sports console. There's just a lot of people in sports. It's kind of like fighting games. Like, people who play fighting games play a lot of fighting games. And people who play sports play a lot of sports games and not much else. So, well, I'm sure they play lots of things. But, you know, people who play FIFA are really into FIFA, right? Anyways... so I think that is why they went for EA Play, because that is like another audience, a completely different audience to what Game Pass normally is. We've got Recompile Train Sim World 2, 12 minutes. Heard a little bit about 12 minutes, so I need to go and check that out. Psychonauts 2 is the one that I'm really excited for. I didn't play Psychonauts 1, but a lot of people said that was great. I didn't really like the art style of Psychonauts 1, and it didn't look like... At the time, it didn't look great. The game didn't look great. Like it looked like a very average game. So, but Psychonauts 2 looks amazing. It looks great. Go and check out that trailer. So I'd like to try Psychonauts 2, and I need something funny. There's just not enough funny games on PC in video games in general. And Humankind was a new announcement. So it's very much like Civilization. It's basically Civilization. So if you like Civilization games, if you like 4X games, if you like grand strategy games, maybe have a look at Humankind. I'll definitely have a look at it. I don't know if I have time to play it, but I mean, I haven't even had time to play Civilization. But as a kid, I used to be a big fan of those games, and yeah, I'd like to play more of them. Okay, so the other games that came out in August, and I don't know how people are going to play all of these games. So we've got Skate, got Art of Rally, Dodgeball Academia, Katamari Damacy Reroll, Lumines Remastered, Hades. I wanted to play Hades. I haven't even gotten around to installing Hades. What was the previous game called? I've forgotten what the previous game called, but I just bought that on the Switch. Curse of the Dead Gods, Starmancer, and Microsoft Solitaire Collection. And, you know, maybe people will laugh at Microsoft Solitaire Collection, but yeah, I would install that. Like, why not? Like, just have something on the side just to, like, you know, pass the time for 5 minutes or so. Okay. Here's something interesting that I found. The Simpsons arcade machine is up for pre-order. I don't expect too many people to go and get this. I've actually just started watching The Simpsons at home. We did that yesterday. And yesterday we started with season 2 because I feel like season 1 is the type of season that's, yeah, very different art style to season 2. Even season 2 looks very different now. More different than I thought it did. And the funny thing is, like, this game right here almost looks like as if it's a season 1 type of graphics. If you can see the screenshot, it's probably a bit hard though. But I'm surprised to see that The Simpsons is still running. The reason I showed the Simpsons to the kids was that it still has like pretty decent storylines, and the pace is still pretty good at the start, like in season 2. And I'm actually really surprised. The writing is amazing. The writing is amazing in this. Maybe it's just because the cartoons that we're getting these days just aren't up to scratch in terms of the writing. They're like a little bit all over the place, and the writing is a little bit lower quality, or almost like how would you put it, like a lower level to the quality of the writing in the older shows. So I'm surprised that the writing is so good. Maybe if you have time, go back and check out some of the older Simpsons episodes. But anyway, Simpsons Arcade Machine. I played quite a bit of this when I was a kid. I didn't play that much. Obviously, it was just too expensive. In Australia, it was about $2 a play. And, you know, as a kid, $2 is like $5 now. So would you put $5 into playing, you know, 5 minutes of this? You probably wouldn't. Like, you just have a few goes here and there. Now, with these arcade machines, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to buy one and then I'll just mod it up. And I think the Simpsons actually wouldn't be one that's good for modding up, because you'd have to do a lot more extra work for it. But I do like the design and all of this. It looks pretty nice with all of the artwork there. It's just that there's, yeah, just a lot more work that you have to do. You'd have to cut out some more buttons, for example. This there's 4 joysticks, which is nice. But if you wanted to play, like, say, Neo Geo 4-player, you'd probably need to cut out more buttons. And then maybe you'd want to do 6 buttons for these two-player games. These 2-player controls, so that you can play Street Fighter. And obviously you'd want to put in something like a Raspberry Pi or something even stronger than that to play more arcade games. But yeah, get a load of the price. It's $529, so it's not something that everybody's going to do. Now, I am surprised they put the coin slot in there as well. I'm wondering if I can get to more pictures of this thing. So one thing that I always dreamed of was, like, okay, I want to get like a Daytona machine. I'll probably never get that, but maybe I'll get like a driving simulator or something like that. And I wouldn't mind a Neo Geo cabinet or a Sega City arcade machine. You know, the sit-down one where you can have, like, on both sides. I don't need it to be on both sides. It could just be like together. But yeah, this one has coin slots, so you can charge your friends when they come over and play. But yeah, I don't think getting arcade cabinets is something that's going to be happening for me anytime soon. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. $529 is actually not expensive for like all of this stuff. I wouldn't do it though. I mean, obviously for me, like I would get something that had like a 16:9 screen. In Australia, there's a company that does some arcade machines, that do some pretty nice arcade machines. And so they've definitely moved on from a lot of this other stuff. So yeah, it looks like there's a light behind this the Simpsons logo. Okay, let's move on to Among Us. Now, Among Us, the headline for this article is, and the article is from Eurogamer, says here, Among Us devs speak out about Fortnite's controversial imposters mode. So essentially what Fortnite have done is just copied Among Us and put in a imposters mode into their game. Now, Among Us don't actually own a game mode. Like, you can't just own a game mode. It's not like you can own King of the Hill or Capture the Flag. So I'm not saying that Fortnite can just go and take everything. I'm just saying I think the game mode, it's really hard to stop somebody from taking your game mode. I guess all you can do is really say, hey, thank you for, acknowledging, this is where it comes from. I guess it's almost like you can't stop these battle royale modes, right? Like if you have battle royale, then you can't stop Call of Duty Warzone from getting battle royale. Okay, so it says here, some of the people behind indie hit Among Us have spoken out about Fortnite's new imposters mode. Yesterday, Fortnite developer Epic announced a new game mode for its all-encompassing battle royale that has an uncanny resemblance to 2018 online multiplayer social deduction game Among Us. Fortnite Imposters sees 10 players, 8 agents and 2 imposters play out their roles on a submarine. Like in Among Us, the agents carry out routine assignments while the imposters sabotage the facility and eliminate players. Imposters can also teleport players to cover their tracks and disable assignments. Yeah, so if you get too close to copying a mode from somebody else, then I think that's where the problem happens and you're going to get bad press from it. So Fortnite, they should have copied a little bit of it, but if they've copied it completely, then I think that's where the problem starts. It's like you haven't actually improved, or you haven't actually if you just made it completely the same, then you've essentially copied someone or copied somebody's homework, right? So I think that's kind of where the bad press starts. So here's a quote from Victoria Tran. She is the Among Us community director. It would have been really, really cool to collab, haha, tweeted Among Us community director Victoria Tran. Just sad indie hours right now. Then, like game mechanics, fine, those shouldn't be gatekept, but at the very least, even different themes or terminology makes things more interesting. And so, yeah, exactly. So I think they're not complaining about the fact that the game mode itself has been taken from somebody else, much like Battle Royale is freely used by everyone. But she says that, yeah, you got to like, put your own flavor into it. If you just outright copy someone and make it look exactly the same, then it kind of just, yeah, it's, I mean, why even bother to do that? Like, you're Fortnite. You're like one of the biggest games out now. You could have done whatever you wanted to. Here's a tweet from Gary Porter. I haven't read this, but it says here, I haven't been tweeting much recently because I've been working so hard on upcoming content for Among Us, so it feels weird to be compelled to tweet again because of stuff like this. It's okay though, they flipped electrical and medbay and connected security to the cafeteria. So they copied the map from Among Us as well, it seems. I wasn't even around for development of Scaled and I'm still kind of offended. Anyway, that's my piece on the whole thing. Gonna get back to adding butts to Among Us or whatever. Yeah, so the amount of copying was just a little bit too much for Among Us anyway. Is there anything else to add to this? The Dying Beam says, even now you could put it in an arcade. Wouldn't be surprised if there are two versions, one with and one without coin slots. Maybe. I would say that they could do one without coin slots, but if they made one with coin slots, then I don't think that's a big deal for them. I guess maybe some people might stick things into the coin slot, like chewing gum or something like that, but I think they might just have the one. I don't think they would make that many units of this thing, because it's kind of like a niche thing to buy like this massive cabinet for your home. Although for me, I would definitely like one. I don't have room for it though, but that would have been pretty cool if I get a nice big house and then I could have a cabinet. But yeah, can't really do that. So that's about it for the Among Us story. But yeah, I'm pretty surprised that Fortnite decided to copy it as far as they did. Okay, we're going to run through this story pretty quick, because how long have I gone for? Oh my gosh, I've gone for an hour already. Okay, so the Epic Games Store's equivalent to Steam Direct is in beta. Okay, so this is basically how Steam publishes their stuff. They say, hey everyone, pay us $100 and you can go ahead and just freely publish your game. You can answer some sort of like survey or questionnaire about it, and then you write out like what type of content you have in your game. And then if we get some negative feedback on this, then we might have a look at your game. But you can publish whatever the hell you want to publish on the Steam store. So one thing with Epic or a lot of the other launchers was that they always reviewed their own games. However, that takes a long time to go ahead and review every game. And I think for Epic Games Store, I always felt like there wasn't enough games, but I did appreciate the fact that for the Epic Games Store, it was quite streamlined. Like, there were enough games where you browse through it and you'd be able to get to the end of all of the games, you know, during a sale when you browse all the games. So I liked that aspect. I didn't like how on Steam you go to their sale and then you wanted to look up as many games as you could, and you could never get to the end of the list. So there were just way too many games on Steam. So I think Epic Games wants to emulate that system. Obviously, if you have more games, then that's going to allow for more money, which is why they're doing this, which is why Steam did it in the first place. But I think in general, this is a good idea for Epic. I think that just so that we stop some really bad games, a lot of the games that Jim Sterling has talked about, you know, the games that are kind of basically scams at this point, where there's just a few assets in, say, an Unreal Engine or like some crappy game maker game that people pay like $10 for it, and then they get basically nothing in the game. So they need to stop those type of games, I think. The true scams, like I've even got scams on my YouTube, on my YouTube chat and my YouTube comment section, but maybe you guys don't see them as much because I do remove those scams. But I basically don't remove any other legitimate comment. Even if you hate the video, I don't remove those comments. I only remove the comments that are literally like a link to some random website. Okay, but let me just quickly read a couple of things for you in this article. It says here, Epic Games is now testing a system that will make it easier for developers to self-publish on the Epic Games Store. For users, the new tools mean that the store's library will grow faster than ever before. The company says, right now, getting a game approved and published on the Epic Games Store requires working directly with Epic at every step of the process. The company plans for the new self-publishing tools to streamline the process, allowing developers to set up their own product pages, achievements, pricing, offers, and upload builds and updates to the store. So very similar to what Steam has. It says here Steam charges $100. Epic isn't sure, or it doesn't say how much Epic is going to charge. I would expect it would be something similar. And overall, I generally think this is a good idea. Like, it's good to have more games on the Epic Games Store. Obviously, they're doing it just for the money, but for people who gaming, yeah, it almost feels like there's just not enough games right now. It could do with more games, but we don't want the scam games. Okay, let's move on to NB Miner. So there are only a couple of things that I want to say about this. A lot of people were like cheering on the fact that now we have or not really cheering on, but like say, well, LHR is all over now. All of the cards are unlocked. Well, actually, LHR is still LHR because unless you get 100% of your hash rate, then it's kind of not worth it to get this card. It's not worth it to get 70%. So for example, what I'm talking about here is like, okay, so I did see a screenshot actually. I don't have the screenshot here. But the 3060 normally does about 47 at the full hash rate, 47 mega hash per second. And at 70%, it would be something like 37 to 40 mega hash a second. So there really is no point to buy the 3060 LHR if you can get the full 3060 100% without the LHR on it. Especially if it's like a couple of $100, you can just make that couple of bucks back in like a month or 2 months. So for most people who actually miners, right? There's really no point to get these LHR cards, and even at 70%, it's not really. It's still better to get those other cards. So, so for people who are thinking, oh, maybe I should just get an LHR card because those are available. Yeah, sure. If you want to just go ahead and game and do a little bit of mining, yeah, that would be fine. But if you really want to mine, then I think, well, you probably know the answer already because you can just do the maths on top of your head. But 70%, it's still not enough. Like I wouldn't go and buy an LHR card. I did see some other mining video channels. They did buy the TI series, which are basically LHR cards. And the reason they're doing that is because they can mine other coins. So this LHR only stops Ethereum. There might be other coins that they stop, but I'm not sure. But the LHR or the non-LHR cards can do everything. The LHR card stops a couple of coins, and then these miners, they will mine other coins that give you the full hash rate. So I think Ravencoin is not one that's stopped by them, so they will just mine 100% of Ravencoin, for example. And there are also some moments where these other altcoins are actually more profitable than Ethereum. So that's kind of their strategy right now. So they will see a coin shoot up and surpass Ethereum in terms of profitability, maybe just for a little bit, like for a day or something, but they'll go ahead and mine those coins. And in Hive OS, you can set it all up so that with a click of a button, you can just go ahead and mine something else. So that's why a lot of miners don't mind to get the LHR, because they can just, they already know their way around everything. So they will always mine at full profitability. But if you're somebody who's, for example, like me, who just sets it to mine something and set it and forget about it, then it's just much more worth it to buy the non-LHR version. Okay. So what time are we at? We're at 1 hour and 12. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Odin, the handheld that's going to be on Indiegogo. Okay, so make sure you stick around. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Hey everyone. So yeah, with the Stream Deck, I just press one button and then it goes from that intro to turning off like things like the desktop audio to playing that logo and then back to this browser. So that's just with the one button, which is easier than me pressing like three different things. So we're gonna talk about Odin. We're gonna talk about Odin. Now, I think maybe some people are thinking, hey, look, this is something that I haven't talked about really. So let me talk about it like, let me summarize it, I guess. So I would say that, as a kid, I played on consoles, but I also played on PC. So I started with NES and Sega Genesis. But at around the same time, I guess a bit after Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive as we called it, we had... Hey, can you go downstairs? Hang on, I'll be back in 1 sec. Okay, so I had an NES and a Sega Genesis, but then at the same time, we had a PC as well. It was a 486 DX266 with 8 megabytes of RAM. It cost a lot of money to go from 4 megabytes of RAM to 8 megabytes of RAM. That's megabytes. And I missed the SNES, and I missed PlayStation. And it was really only until I got my a job that I could get a PS2. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I used to go to the arcades a lot as well because we'd just go and watch people play. Didn't have that much money to play all the time because, $1, $2, it's kind of like $5 now. So couldn't really like spend money like that. If I had $5, I probably would go and rent a game and play on the NES. So we went to arcade, watch people play Street Fighter 2, watch people play Neo Geo, that sort of thing. One of my favorite games back then was Art of Fighting. I played that more because you had that story in the single player, and obviously you had to kind of play single player to get good at the game. I didn't want to like just play other people because then you could lose your money quickly. You'd only get one shot. At best you could get 2 rounds. So I didn't want to do that. And so that's kind of like where I'm coming from with all the games that I used to play. So I don't know if people are like that now. Like if you are like my son, for example, who's 5, but or maybe if you're like 10, 15, whether you'd have that interest in retro handhelds like I do because I played it back then. But that's what I really, when I see these retro handhelds, I'm like, oh man, finally I get to play it on a portable device, and I've been waiting for a portable device for the longest time. So actually, a few years ago, I bought a GPD Win 2. Hoping to emulate PS2. That's the system that I wanted to emulate. Now, let me just jump straight into the Odin, because the Odin, it probably isn't going to get to PS2, at least from what we have already on Android, and people can test it out on the processor because the Snapdragon 845 has been out for a few years. It's probably not going to be able to emulate PS2. So still waiting for a portable handheld reasonable price that can do PS2 emulation. I could of course go and get a GPD Win 3, which would do PS2 emulation, but that's $700-800, and I don't really feel like dropping that amount of cash right now for something like that. But what brought this on was that I left GPD Win 2 like a few years ago, and then I wasn't really going to look at it until we had, say, like the Radeon, the Zazan chips, or the one after Zazan, whatever that was going to be, like the RDNA 2. So finally, Streamdeck came out, and it was like, oh my gosh, RDNA 2, that can actually play games at reasonable level at 720p. And actually, I was going to wait until something that was going to be like about 4 teraflops of power on a handheld. We're not there yet. So, but I think the Steam Deck is still pretty good for what it is. 1.6 teraflops at 720p. I think that's going to be okay. Certainly the best thing that you can get right now. The only downside to the Steam Deck is that it's probably not going to be available, at least for Australians, for people who are in Asia, of actually getting one anytime soon, because the orders are just have gone mad, I guess, like in the West, like in the US. So I don't even know if they're going to make it available in other regions. They might make a few units available in Australia. It might be really hard to get, and yeah, it doesn't look good right now. At least that's what I can say in Australia. Asia, they might make some units available. It's going to be really hard to get. But mostly the orders are backlogged till 2022, quarter 2 2022. So that's a long time to wait. It could be 2023 before Australia sees it, or even the end of 2022, which is effectively 2023. So I mean, like for $100, $200, which is what this Odin thing is, maybe it's worth it to get something that can play retro handheld games. Now, I actually have something coming in the next few days, a retro handheld coming in the next few days. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I'll most likely do a video on it. Seems like there's at least some people watching the Odin Handheld video that I made yesterday. So hopefully, when the retro handheld that I get comes along, I'll have a look at it. If I like it, then I'll make a video on it. But yeah, I'm very excited about that handheld. So that's my backstory of the Odin. I've probably gone on for way too long there, as per usual, just rambling on stuff. But let's take a look at this Odin handheld. Now, I already made a video on it, so I will be repeating some stuff because this is like a more in-depth look at the Odin handheld. So we'll try and go for 15 minutes, and then we'll see, I don't know, if there are any questions about it. People are curious about this. So this is the Indiegogo campaign for the Odin handheld. Let's take a look at some of the photos here. And you can see it's very much like a Switch Lite system. Now, I believe this is Taki Udon, who's made a lot of videos about this already. So generally he's a YouTuber who makes a lot of videos about retro handhelds. So he's obviously partnered with AN Technologies on this device. So he's part of the promotional campaign. So I mean, I guess you can still watch his videos and talk and look at, you know, the performance of the thing. But yeah, just know that he's part of the promotional campaign. The funny thing is, like, you know, with handhelds, I often find it a little bit tricky to find a comfortable position to play handhelds. This is certainly not a position that I play in with the hands above the head. I'm more like this, but even still, like, it's a little bit high. But if I put it a little bit lower, then it makes it a little bit harder to see. So while people talk about handhelds as being very comfortable because you get the couch, sometimes I do find it a little bit hard to get the perfect position. But anyway, that's just a small random thing. Maybe this is the type of position with, you know, a high table, so you can rest your arms and then it's closer to your head, and that way it's a little bit easier. But yeah, look, I think it's a very good looking device, definitely. So this has passive cooling, which looks pretty nice. There's an entire heatsink over the top of it. There's active cooling. You know, the mobile chips, the Snapdragon 844, I'm sure it gets pretty hot. So this is nice that it has active cooling. If it has this, then a lot of the mobile phones don't have this at all. So this should be really good cooling. Even though of course on laptops and things like that, the fans are going to be very small, but still it's better than what you're going to get on mobiles. And also, your hands are not as close to the screen or as close to this processor, so it should be further away. As you can see, you're going to be holding it via the near the controls, so the heat shouldn't be as bad where the controls are. You're also going to get a dock support. You're going to get they've copied the Switch Lite, I believe, because it looks like the sound is coming out from the bottom here, pretty much like a Switch Lite, which is good news. Now it does have analog triggers, so some people find it hard to play racing games without the analog trigger buttons. I don't know, like I think it is a little bit harder. I wouldn't say that it's that impossible to play, because a lot of people just play Mario Kart with the face buttons anyways. So I think analog, no analog, for me personally, like I don't think it's that bad, but I think they do help a little bit, especially if they have a little bit of force feedback on them. That's pretty nice. Okay, so here are the colors for the Odin. So this is the base and pro model. Now it's interesting because here they showed 5 colors for this, but in the super pack, oh wait, they've changed it again. So it's so weird, like, oh, here we go. So that was the old version. So yeah, as you can see here, okay, say like the Odin base super pack, they've got all of these colors showing. So I'm wondering whether that means that you're going to be able to choose these different colors. We'll get back to all the super packs in just a second, but it's something interesting to note. Okay, so where are we at? All right, so let's talk a little bit about this right here. So I got a question yesterday about how games will run on Windows on ARM if you were to put Windows on this ARM device. So I'm not familiar with Windows on ARM because I just don't have any experience with it, but I would assume that you would need some sort of emulation layer on top. So you're trying to play an x86 game, you need to emulate Steam on x86, and also the game itself needs, so the game would need to have a way to, or maybe there is some sort of like overall software or emulation thing that can drive any of these games to run in your Windows on ARM. So you do need some sort of like emulation on top of this to get your games to run. I don't know if that exists right now, but that's what you would need if you were to play games on Windows on ARM. I guess it could happen the more Windows on ARM devices that we get in the market. It feels like it's pretty early. I probably wouldn't install this anyways. The other thing is that Windows takes up a lot of storage space, right? It could be like 30 or 40 gigabytes, and this device is 64 gigabytes. You could get the 128 gigabyte device, but yeah, you'd be losing a large chunk of it to just Windows. I think, I know everybody wants to get their Steam games on something. I'm not sure if this is the device for it. And plus, like, your processor is going to be really weak as well. So you'll be able to play some games, but there's going to be a lot in your library that you're not going to be able to play. Okay. Just checking the chat to see if anyone's there. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, you guys. There's 11 people watching. We're talking about the Odin Handheld, which will go live tomorrow. The Indiegogo campaign will go live tomorrow. So it's 19th of August, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time in the US. So whatever that is. So it'll be 9:30 a.m. my time. I think in Australia that would put it at 7:30 a.m. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual device here. One thing that is always missing for these handhelds is that, and I've seen they put crappy cameras on the back and not a webcam on the front. And maybe these these games aren't very good for, oh sorry, maybe these consoles aren't actually very good for streaming and also playing a game, but I think a webcam would be more useful than a camera on the back. Like, I know people want to use the camera for QR codes and things like that, but I think a webcam is more useful on say like an iPhone device or a console device. Okay, so one thing I wanted to note here with this console was that you have asymmetrical controllers or control sticks, which is the same on the Switch. So you can go and feel how that feels. So they really copied the Switch here. There is really nothing here that they didn't copy from the Switch, aside from the plus or minus buttons. It's nice that they have, I think they should have a couple more little buttons on the top here so that you can map them to other things. Yes, there's a home button and a start select button. I feel like they should have some more. You could make more buttons if you press like L1 and some other button, but I wish, you know, just have a couple more little buttons. On a PC or an Android, you just have a lot more short keys and stuff, which could be useful. Okay, so the other thing is, yeah, with the asymmetrical buttons, it's not going to be the ultimate experience, I feel, for retro games. Like if you're going to play NES or SNES games, it does feel a little bit lopsided. But I had a feel of it last night on the Switch Lite and how that would feel to play NES. I think it's fine. I honestly think it's not too bad. It's not perfect, but I guess they also wanted to market this as very much like a Switch Lite that's going to play GameCube and Wii games with this. So I think that is why they went with the analog stick on top here, because that suits those 3D games more. You've got on-off switch, volume plus and minus, which is great. I expect that to be very much like the Switch. They've essentially just copied the Switch here. There's also HDMI, a TF card, micro SD. So this is actually... So this is a TF card. So this is actually missing in the specs. So I think there is a micro SD card. It'd be very surprising if they took that out. Audio jack, USB Type-C, and there's a couple of buttons on the back which are mappable as well. I guess, well, they call it M1, M2, mappable 1, mappable 2. Now, the dimensions of this is 224 millimeters by 95.2. Now, I've got a really good comparison that I can show you. Let me see if I can find it. Hey, can we not? Sorry, was talking to my kid there. There's a really good, if I can find this comparison. Maybe I can't find it. Maybe it's not. Oh, here we go. This is it. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is the Odin Handheld. And if you have a Switch or you have a... Sorry, this is the Switch, and then this is the Switch Lite. If you have one of those, then you'll roughly know where it falls. So it's a little bit bigger than the Switch Lite, and I do feel like this is really the sweet spot. Like, I feel like the Switch is a little bit big, and the Switch Lite a little bit small. So this is gonna feel great. So in terms of the size, I feel like this is a nice size, and for say like 4x3 games, NES or SNES games, yeah, you're going to get big black bars because you've got a 16:9 screen here. But I think that's okay, because if you were trying to play this is a 4.3 inch screen. So even if you had something like, say, the Aminic 351p, that's just going to feel way smaller than this 16:9 6-inch screen. So I think this is fine. There's really nothing you can really do about that. I mean, I guess until somebody makes a 6-inch 4x3 screen, yeah, this is the best we got. Okay, so let's go back to the Odin specs page. There's a dock. It has Nintendo 64 ports. It also has a ton of USB ports on the back, which is pretty useful. So I think that'll be interesting. Like, that means you can almost use it as a computer with the number of ports that you got there. You also got GameCube ports on the side. I'm surprised you could put a 2.5-inch SATA hard disk drive there. So that means you can load even more games for your TV, for example. I think we talked about the colors. I don't know if we have, but here are the colors again. So, you know, the thing is, I quite like the Odin light colors here. I like the fact that there's a clear black. I think this is my favorite, the clear black, because it's something different. And the color grade is really nice as well with those SNES buttons. And even the white. The white is very nice with the black buttons. Now, out of these, I like the black and the clear purple. I'm not such a big fan of the other colors, the blue, red, and green. They are fine. It just feels, yeah, they look different. But I don't feel like they look beautiful different. Like the Nintendo Switch Lite, you can see the color palette they're going for, and I'm not sure what the color palette they're going for is here. It's some sort of like pastel type of color, but the Nintendo Switch Lite, like if you put them all up against each other, they look quite nice all together. It's almost like this color is supposed to be like that coral color from Nintendo Switch Lite. This color is supposed to be like that green color that they got on the Nintendo Switch Lite. And then the blue is just because everybody needs a blue console. But yeah, I really like the Odin Light colors. This looks really nice. Here's some comparisons against the price, the competition. So this is a really old console, the Mochi i7S. So this is $390. Yeah, it's kind of cheating a little bit that they put that there. I think that's a couple of years old now. So yeah, there's a reason why it's so expensive and it has such an old processor. The GPD XD Plus, I've actually forgotten what that supposed to. Oh right, that's the XD Plus that looks like the clamshell device. I thought about getting this actually, but yeah, for $229 I didn't feel like it was worth it. And also you only get one screen. I don't get why they can't have two screens. I think that must be some sort of patent that Nintendo has to have dual screens. Maybe that's why they didn't go with two screens. But I love the Nintendo dual screen. I wish somebody did it. And Microsoft eventually did do their Surface Dual, but it's like $1,200, so it's not really worth it just to get it and play around. It's such a beautiful device, though, that Microsoft Surface Dual. I wish I could afford one. Now, the PowerKitty X18, I'm actually not sure about this device. Let me just have a look and see what this looks like. I think it's like that. Oh, okay, so it's very much like the DS device. Now let me go back to the Odin RG351P Ambinic. So that's in another price category. So I mean, yes, you can compare it, but it's not really the same because this has $100 price. The processor is a lot weaker. I think that's not even the right processor. It's like an RK3266 or something like that. And then yeah, it has 1 GB of RAM, and then this is going to have 4 GB or 8 GB. So not really the same comparison. This has a 3.5-inch screen, so a lot smaller, and then the this has a 6-inch screen, and then the Retro Pocket 2 is $80. Again, those two are very similar class devices, and this is like another step up. All right, let's take a quick look at the specs. I've already done my video on the specs and the pricing, so I guess I talk a bit more about it there, but essentially there's a Snapdragon SD845 64-bit processor here on the Odin. Now, this comes with a quad-core Cryo Gold 2.8 gigahertz and a quad-core Cryo Silver 1.8 gigahertz. So this is essentially your processor from a few years ago now. Like it came out in 2018. There's a good article on AnandTech if you want to go and read up about the technical capabilities of this, although it was written back in 2018. So obviously it's going to be written with that mindset that this chipset beats everything else out on the market, like it even beats the iPhone X. iPhone X or iPhone 10. So you can go and read that AnandTech article. I guess this is probably like a mid-tier processor now, which is why we're getting this console for $200 and it's not in those $800, $900 smartphones. So I think we should do the comparison side by side. So we'll talk about the Lite CPU. Now, people asked me like about this Dimensity. They said that this is actually faster than the Snapdragon ST84. And yes, if you look at some of those comparisons that are around on the internet, like for example, if you just type in Dimensity D1000C, and then you go to something like this Nano review here, it will say the Dimensity 1000 is better than the Snapdragon 845. So I think AYN or AN, they probably should go and clarify this, because why am I paying $35 extra for the base and $80 for the Pro over the Lite if the Lite is going to be better? I don't think the Lite is going to be better. So this is going to have, as you can see here, 4x A77 2 gigahertz and 4A55 at 2 gigahertz. I feel like this is going to be downclocked because it says here, well, most of the, let me see if I can get this. So here, the Dimensity 1000 is actually running at 2.6 gigahertz. And this one has a Mali G77, not what's inside this Dimensity chip, which I go back here, it's a Mali G57. And this This A77 is running at 2.6 gigahertz. So the A77 here is running at 2 gigahertz. So it will be, what, like 20% slower? Something like that, 20 or 30% slower, 20 to 25% slower. And maybe your ARM Mali is going to be 20, 25% slower. Now, if we take a quick look at some of these specs, your CPU performance, your gaming performance, you're all about 20, 25% faster on that Dimensity 1000. So maybe it actually ends up being almost about the same, which is really annoying now. Like, we have to judge this based on something that we're just estimating ourselves. These guys, these developers, they know exactly how the Lite and the Base and the Pro performs, so they should just come out and tell us which one we should get, like which one is better. But from the pricing, I would place my bets that the Base and the Pro would be faster than the Lite, because that doesn't make any sense. If the Lite is going to beat the Base and the Pro, only because it's got a Qualcomm Snapdragon. So we'll have to see. Like, if you're just emulating stuff and you don't even care about, say, GameCube and Wii stuff, then maybe the Lite is fine, because it will probably do like PSP, Dreamcast, and all of that sort of stuff on the Lite. But I think if you're worried about, say, GameCube and Wii, or you want to emulate those, I think because this is more expensive, it's $35 more expensive, my bet is that the Base is probably going to be stronger than the Lite. I think this Lite here is a downclocked version, and I think the GPU will probably be downclocked. By how much? It's really hard to say. Like, I wish they would just come out and tell us. Okay, so that's enough of me grumbling about that. But let's have a look at the RAM here. So we've got 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4X on the base and 8 gigabytes of LPDDR4X on the Pro. The Lite has 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4X, 1866 megahertz. Now the thing is, 1866 is more like a DDR3 type of spec or speed. So it's interesting that they put that, maybe they just ran out of room. Like, this is the thing, like you don't know if they're trying to like cover something up or not. Why put the speed on the Lite and not the speed on the base and the Pro? It's almost as if they're trying to maybe kind of warn us, hey, look, maybe this isn't the full speed of LPDDR4X, because LPDDR4X, it could start from like say 2800 or 3200 megahertz and then run up to like 4266. And they're trying to tell us, hey, it's not 4266, it's actually 1866, which is more like DDR3. So I think that's why they put that there. And then the base and the Pro, they're like, yeah, it's going to be 4X, it's going to be fine. So maybe this RAM is slower. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference for like all of the games that you're going to emulate anyway, which is why they're probably using the slowest RAM possible. Even if they save, say like 10 cents, 20 cents, they're still saving money. So the storage here is 64 gigabytes on the base, 128 for the Pro, and 64 on the Lite. And oh look, they've added TF card support, so that was missing here before. So they keep updating this page with a lot more information. Okay, so let me answer some questions from the chat here. This is what the GBD XP should have been. XP, is that the XP or the XD? Because I know of the XD Plus. I don't know about the XP yet. I'm kind of like over the last month or so just getting back into a lot of this retro stuff. Codename COD says Claythorpe. I don't know what that means. Joel L. Would the Steam Deck be the most powerful handheld device? Yes, I can confidently say that, yes. This is more like, I would say, Vega 3 type of performance, whereas the Steam Deck would be even faster than, say, the Neo Pro, which is Vega 8, and then the Steam Deck would be like another 20% performance on top of that as well, because it's got 8 RDNA 2 units. So you're a fair bit stronger than this. You're like, 3x performance of this Odin. This Odin is really just good for, say, emulating some basic games, and you can play some Android games as well. Maybe not the latest Android games very well because of that 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4X. The thing is, like, I'm not completely sure how well this 4 gigabytes is going to perform. A lot of the low-end Android phones have 4 gigabytes. I guess why they put that there is because they know that the emulation side of things, it should be fine. Even the Wii, for example, if you look at the Wii, it only uses like 64 megabytes of RAM. So you can emulate that quite easily, at least on the RAM side of things. With the, say, with larger Android games, they might use more RAM. And a lot of the Android OS puts a lot of resources into the RAM itself. So that is why a lot of these Android devices always end up with larger amounts of RAM. People tout it as like this great big thing, like, oh, Android now has 8 gigabytes of RAM. Why does an iPhone have as much RAM? It only has like, say, 4 gigabytes of RAM. So the OS itself actually uses a lot less RAM. So for Android, for say like, the top end Androids, maybe they use 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM and it's an 8 gigabyte device. So you have like a couple of gigabytes free. So if you wanted to play Android games, that's why I was saying that maybe it would be better to go with that Pro, because if you're running Android, the OS might take up quite a bit of that memory. It might take up, say, 3 gigabytes of this, and on the 4 gigabyte device, you only have like 1 gigabyte left, which is fine if you want to emulate stuff. But on the Pro, 1 gigabyte, maybe your game is like 2 gigabytes of RAM, and then it would struggle to play that because now you need 5 gigabytes. Retro Fresh Bro Rackers, what are your thoughts on 3DS performance? Well, on this, I think it should be fine because you can play 3DS stuff on RG351P. a lot of the channels have already done 3DS games on these devices, the RG351P and RP2. It's not completely perfect for two reasons. Obviously, in terms of some of the more difficult games on the 3DS, it is harder to run, but you should be able to play most of them on this on the RG351P. And then also, of course, like your screen is not big enough on the RG351P, so you have to switch between the screens all the time. Obviously, with the 3DS, you have both screens available. Oh, 3DS. I was still talking about DS. 3DS, well, I think that will be very similar to Wii, right? Like, but it really depends on how far they've gone with in terms of 3DS emulation. So I don't have an answer for you because I haven't really looked up a lot of the 3DS stuff. The thing with the 3DS, right, is that if you want to have emulate 3DS, well, the easiest way really is just to get a 3DS and then just soft mod the 3DS. And I think that's pretty easy to do now. Somebody just gave me a guide the other day on how easy it is to do. I haven't done it yet because I don't have my 3DS on me at the moment, but that would literally just play all of your 3DS games. So that would be the way to go. I know that's not what you're asking here, but yeah, that's why I kind of haven't thought about it myself, because if I want to do 3DS, I would just grab my 3DS and then soft mod it, and then you can play all your 3DS games there. But I think you would be able to do 3DS on this. Sorry, before when I first started, I was thinking about DS, and DS would be perfectly fine on this device. Because DS was already running really well on RG351P, not 100%, maybe like 80-90%, and then this would actually just run everything 100%. I use a 4GB laptop. I use a 4GB laptop to emulate stuff. Need another 4 gigs ideally. Does work well up to Wii though under Win 10 as well. Well, I guess maybe with Android, it's a little bit different to Windows. Maybe Windows, you're kind of tight with 4 gigabytes of RAM. I know Windows can run on like even 2 gigabytes of RAM systems. But yeah, 4 gigabytes these days just feels really tight. But I guess it could be okay if you're only doing things that, if you don't want to do everything, I think 4 gigabytes is okay. If you just want to emulate stuff, I think 4 gigabytes is okay. Codename COD. I'd love a RG350M. Yeah, I would like one as well. Though, I think I prefer the larger screen size now. So for me, I think having a larger screen size to play those NES, SNES games, because those games were made for a TV. So I think it will be fine in terms of, okay, well, if I've got no choice, of course I'm going to play it on a 3.5 or 4-inch screen. But there's a point where it gets a little bit too small. Say like the Game Boy Micro with like a 2-inch screen. That just feels really uncomfortable to play. So I don't really like that, which is why I never got a Game Boy Micro. So 3 inch is really kind of cutting it close. So I'll have to wait and see with the 3-inch screen that I'm getting. And yeah, I think for me personally, I like the size of that Switch Lite. Even the Switch Lite feels a touch small, because like you play the Switch Lite and then you play the Switch, and the screen size just feels a little bit better. And I think people are going to change their minds when they actually see that Switch OLED come out with a 7-inch screen. I think they're going to really like that 7-inch screen. I think a lot of people are just going to get rid of their old Switch and just upgrade to that Switch, because people play so much Switch that it's almost worth it. Now, I will say that it is kind of expensive, like $349. But if you sell your old Switch, I guess that's not too bad. Like you could get like $250 for your old Switch. So you're paying $100 to upgrade your system, which isn't too bad. The thing is, I will say that I still believe that the Switch Pro is going to be coming out, say like next year sometime. So you could always wait until then. I agree, it's different. You're right. Larger screen, lower res though on 301M or 351M. Yeah, exactly. So there was this 640 by 480p screen, which looked really nice on the 350M, and the 351M has that different screen size. And because there was a $40 difference between the 351M and 351p, I'll just say it now. I've got a 351p coming in the mail. So yeah, I bought that because I really wanted a retro handheld. We'll have to wait and see if I like the screen size or not. 3.5, I felt like, okay, well, it looks the same as my 3DS. And it's probably the same as an iPhone 4, I think 4 or 4S. It was 3.5 inch. So it'll be something like that, I guess. So it can't be too bad. It can't be that small. So I thought I would give it a go. It was like $100, so it's not too bad. But yeah, it does feel weird going to a small screen. Like even going to my Switch Lite after going to Switch, it feels noticeable. And then a lot of the games these days, because you have higher resolutions, people are trying to jam more information on the screen. So a lot of the text size is really small. So, and especially like it's so bad on the Switch Lite as well. Especially when developers, they only think about just porting the game over. So like if they already have the PC game or the PS5 game, and all they do is just push that game onto the Switch and don't even think about the portable mode. I played a few games like this. I've complained about it. This was one of the games, was WRC9, which they literally didn't do anything about the text size, and there's some text that you can't even read on it. It's so small that it's such a joke. But yeah, screen size is important. I don't know how important it is for retro games. I need to go and test out that 351p that I just got. Okay, I really need to talk about the specs again. We've rambled on for ages. So let me get back to the storage. The thing is, like, there's no way to cut stuff out. There's no way to cut stuff out of the live stream, so it is what it is. I hope you guys haven't been bored about that. So anyways, so we've just talked about the specs of the CPU, GPU, RAM. Let's talk about the storage. So I actually think 128 gigabytes is actually the right size for this, because people are going to be starting to play things like PSP and PS1 games a lot more on this Pro, and obviously Dreamcast games. So they're going to be like 600 megabytes each. And so if you have quite a few of those games, if you have like 100 of those games, you already use more than the amounts of space on that base. So 600 megabytes times 100 is 60 gigabytes. Yeah, so the 64 gigabyte option, I mean, get that if you're really running tight on space. You've always got the option of having a memory card that you can add in later. But I think, you know, if you were to buy another 64 gigabyte card on top of that, how much would that would be? Like $15. So, and this is $50 for the price. You already paid like $15 for that extra 64 gigabytes anyways. And then you'd also be paying $35 for this 8 gigabytes of LPDDR4X. Plus you get a bigger battery as well. This is the problem with the pricing that I'll talk about a little bit later, is that the price creep of this thing ends up being very close to the Steam Deck, and it makes it difficult to decide which one to get, if you get one at all. So the screen, we've already talked about the screen quite a bit. It's got 6-inch screen, and I like the fact that it's quite a large size. It has HDMI and DisplayPort. The audio is different on the two. So this one has Qualcomm ASTIC audio codec, and this one just has a regular audio codec. I don't know how different that's going to be. I guess it's going to be really close. Like, I don't think there's that much difference. The Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, pretty standard stuff. The Wi-Fi goes up to AC, Bluetooth, which is great because there's no Bluetooth on the Switch. The ports, so you've got a USB 3.1 Type-C, a mini HDMI, and a 3.5mm audio jack. Now, mini HDMI, I guess you don't really need a dock. You could have the dock, but you should be able to just hook it up to your PC anyway. So if you're worried about like not being able to connect it, I think it's okay. Maybe you can make up your own stand or something like that for the dock if you really want to, so you don't have to spend $50 on that dock. I think that's important because if you get one of the super packs, you're getting close to the cost of a Steam Deck. And for people in the US, the Steam Deck is coming out at the same time as this. For other countries, it's not, so it's a different proposition. But yeah, there's probably, like, this is my opinion, but there's probably no need to get both if you're in one of the regions that's actually getting a Steam Deck this year. Even if you're getting it, say, like first quarter, second quarter next year, there's probably no need to get this and the Steam Deck. So don't get don't get console envy or jealous about, you know, this is another device that you don't have. Don't worry about that. If you have a Steam Deck, go with the Steam Deck, right? Go with the Steam Deck. And this device is kind of like, this is okay at $200, $150, $200 is okay. And I still haven't fully decided. I feel like I want one. But yeah, I don't want to blow my money. Like, I think $200 is my limit on this thing. If I get to $250, have to pay shipping costs. We're at $300. I'm gonna just buy a Steam Deck. So, and the OS, I don't know why it says and this runs at Android 10 and this one runs at Android 11. They've obviously changed this a few times, so I'm surprised that they still missed that error. Whether they're running the same system or not. Maybe they're running different systems. The battery is 5,000 milliamps on the base and 6,000 milliamps on the Pro. I think they're more or less the same. I don't think the battery is where you would want to upgrade if you're going to upgrade, because you could stick in your own battery pack anyway. The base and Pro has quick charge, and the Lite has fast charging. So fast charging might be something like 2 amps at 5 watts, so like maybe 10 watts. And the size is the same. Okay, let's talk about the pricing. Now these are all in Hong Kong dollars, so I'll have to translate these by myself. Let me just bring up my other thing, because I already typed in the prices for these, and that will help me. Okay. Okay, I'll pull that over here for a time. So I won't be able to see the chat for a second, but oh, there's some more questions here. Joel L, do you think building up a budget PC or buying Steam Deck to dock it, which is a better option? Are you willing to go used parts, Joel? If you go used parts, you'll get better value if you buy a budget PC. If you do that, then yeah, it's gonna blow your Steam Deck out of the water. The Steam Deck is like the lowest PC that you can possibly get, basically. You're running integrated graphics. They're good integrated graphics, but it doesn't beat any of the discrete graphics card. Like if you were to just put a card in, then that would just blow the integrated graphics out of the water. And that's the thing with integrated graphics right now. They're kind of like, I've seen some videos, people make these really cool systems. There is this goal in the end eventually that we can make a super small system with integrated graphics on it that runs 1080p, 60 frames per second. This is going to need 4 teraflops, and we're only, as you can see, with 8 compute units on RDNA 2 at 1.6 teraflops. There is this goal eventually getting 3-4 teraflops on an APU, and then you can make a super small system that you can just put next to your TV, and that would be awesome. How we're still like a couple of years away from that, at least, if not maybe 3 or 4. Now, The thing is, you put a say like a really old card, like say a mid-tier card from say 5 years ago, like a GTX 970, you're already at like 4 or 5 teraflops there, and that's going to cost you a couple of $100. So the budget PC option, you're going to spend $400-500 on a Steam Deck. You could probably make a used budget system for $500 that's going to blow this thing like 3 or 4 times better than your Steam Deck. So yeah, keep that in mind, like when you think about the Steam Deck, that this has integrated graphics, and while people talk about how this is cool and all, they're talking about it from a perspective that we don't need a graphics card anymore. We have these tiny little compute units on the CPU, and that's a really cool thing. But when you're actually playing the games, the experience is kind of like, oh, it's 720p, I gotta play at low settings. I might just move to my regular desktop and just play the game there, because even if I play it on a GTX 1050, then that's just going to be way better than this Steam Deck thing. Like a GTX 1050, maybe that's running at 3 teraflops. I can just play it at like 1080p at medium, right? And then I have to move down to the Steam Deck, and yeah, I'm kind of like getting 25 FPS, 30 FPS, and it's kind of, yeah. So this is what we're talking about, like integrated graphics. It's going to be cool on the Steam Deck though. 720p, you're going to get lots of games at 60 FPS, not everything. Let's put a baseline on this, like Cyberpunk 2077, which we already talked about on the live stream, you're going to get 720p at 30 FPS. Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're going to get 720p, maybe 25 FPS, 30 FPS. And then you kind of move up from there. So if you want to play, say like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it will be something similar. Maybe you'll be able to bump a couple of settings up to medium. And then say if you were playing, say like GTA 5, yes, you could play that 720p at 60 FPS. I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. If you're not sure, go and check out some videos of integrated graphics, say like for an AMD Radeon 4800U, which has Vega 8. So then your RDNA 2 units will be like, say, 20% better. There's lots of videos on a 4800U. That should give you some idea of the type of performance you're getting. Yeah, you're getting 720p. Like, are you ready to move back to 720p and low? On portable devices, you know, this is the strongest thing that anybody's ever had, so that's pretty exciting. And so I know I ramble a lot on these live streams, and that is why I'm starting to cut my videos down to 10 minutes, and then they almost feel like they get a little bit truncated, because sometimes I don't want to go on for too long in those videos. So Don Draper says, it's a great starting point, can only get better from here. SSD is only getting cheaper and bigger. Okay. Codename Card, much love from the UK. Thank you so much. Let me show my appreciation by playing you a meme. Oh. Can I do that? No, I can't. I gotta go back into here. Sorry. Can I play that? So the Stream Deck still needs some work. Well, I can play that, but I can't play my thank you GIF. So I'll have to wait till next week to play my thank you GIF. But thank you for showing some love there. Intel HD 4000 here, quite good. Joel L, alright. Codename Card. I'd love a Stream Deck. I'd love Steam. Yeah, the Steam Deck is going to be great. It's going to be great. I know I played it down a little bit, but yeah, the Steam Deck is going to be, and I'm getting a Steam Deck. It's the type of device where you're going to be able to play like, you know, 80% of your back catalog on it. And for those other games, say like you want to play Assassin's Creed or something, you could just move back to your desktop and play it there. And I understand why they made it, because there's too many launches right now on PC. So to get people more, or get people back into Steam, they're going to make a device where you're in Steam all the time. So I think that's why they wanted to go ahead and make a Steam Deck. And also because there's a bit of interest now in all of these handheld devices, these PC portable devices. So I think it was the right move for them to step in and grab as much market share while it was still up for grabs. Okay. Malaysia has expensive used parts for PC. Yes, so I was gonna I guess talk a little bit about that. So yeah, if you were to go get new parts, you're looking at like, I don't know, maybe like you would have to get your GPU used like for it to get to like $500-600, because if you were to buy a new GPU, the lowest you could really get was say like a GTX 1650, which is about $300. Then the rest of your PC is going to be another $300. And while that would be better than your Steam Deck easily, yeah, you're gonna have to build it yourself. It might be 2x better than your Steam Deck. So now you're getting close, right? Like $600, $500, now you're getting kind of close. The Steam Deck is going to be okay. I've been up all night padding up my GameCube folder. Yeah, I've been doing that with my PS1 games. I hope the deck does well. Yeah. Okay, I've done all of the specs, and okay, I better go to the prices now because people have probably been waiting patiently to talk about the pricing of these things. So let me move some of these windows around. All right, so now they have early bird pricing and non-early bird pricing, which is pretty frustrating if you ask me. Like, I sort of understand why, and it says here 0 out of 1,000 claims, so there's only 1,000 of each, I'm guessing. Oh, the base, there's only 100. And I think that's pretty poor form, which is why my trust has gone down a little for this company. I'm being honest here. If you're going to market this, if you're going to go on Taki Udon, who has like 300,000 subscribers or whatever he has, and then you're going to come out and say this is project code name 199, and you're only making 100 available, that's bullshit. Okay, I don't often swear on my channel, but you shouldn't do that. You have 200,000 subscribers in Taki Udon. Let's see how many people actually watch that Project 199 video. And also Taki Udon, honestly, he should know that this is kind of not right. Like, yes, you get exclusive use for this. You get exclusive promotion, you get more. So 128,000 people watched this 100. Can you guys see that? Oh. I'm again not in my browser. Okay. All right, here we go. So as I was saying before, okay, look. So let me just back up a little bit. Where is that? Okay, so we're talking about this early bird Odin base here, and the Odin Lite has 1,000 of these consoles, and that's going to be $165 for the early bird. The early bird Odin base is going to be $199. Now the marketing for this has always been, hey, look at this handheld. This handheld is codename 199, and that's the biggest I can make this. I don't know if you can. So it's there right here, 199 sneak peek. So they've been marketing this around from about 3 months ago, and so they've told 128,000 people that this thing is $199, and now you're gonna make 100 available. So you got to be kidding me, right? Like, you just told 100,000 people that, and you only have 100 available. So it's one of those, I'm not going to say scam, but very dodgy marketing involved. Let's see how much the Odin Pro is. So there's 1,000 of those available. So, okay, so there's 1,100 available of this Odin. I don't like the fact that it only has 100 available for this base at $199 because you just told everybody that it's $199. The Odin Pro is $250. So, yeah, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think about that. So I'm a bit disappointed about this, and it makes me trust the company less. And the fact that they've also, this is their first time, right? And I almost feel like, I don't know when companies are genuine, if ever. Like, if this is your first time, you should gain some trust first before you try to squeeze money out of everyone. Now, this is a very beautiful looking device, and I'm sure a lot of people are interested in this. But if you're going to have some dodgy tactics where you're going to call it $199 and then not have any units available at $199, then I think that's kind of dodgy, especially when Taki Udon is the only guy who actually has has been able to get hands-on with this thing. I don't know if the Fox or anybody else has had hands-on with this. I think Taki Udon is really the only guy who has actually had this. And I don't know. I don't know how much I don't know how much I would put this on Taki Udon, but definitely on the company itself. Okay, so anyway, the early bird Odin Lite, so that's $165, and this is going to be about $199. Don Draper says codename 349 in the works. Yeah, I wonder how many views that will get if we suddenly change the codename 349. The early bird Odin base, and this is the other thing. Now, I didn't completely check this when I did my video. I'm not sure if only the black version is available. That's kind of disappointing as well, because like, whoops, you're marketing this thing and you're marketing all the pretty nice colors here, and then the handheld itself, you can only get black, and the Odin Lite you can only get white. Whereas you have other colors, but you have to pay the full price for it. So you have to pay another $30 for the full price one. So again, like, should color really matter that much? Like, what? Like, you do all of this marketing and then you're forcing us to just buy the black and the white one. So pretty annoying there. The Odin Lite Coal Gray, that's about $199. The Odin base, so the Odin base will be $224. So if you want the other colors, you're gonna have to pay $224, and then the purple here is going to be $234. So an extra $10 for this purple one, which does look better than the others. But yeah, they have to charge you another $10. So they're nickel and diming everyone, and I just don't feel, I don't feel great about that. Like, why don't you just throw people a bone here? For $10 more, you want to scam people, scale people not an extra $10. And they could have bought a lot of goodwill if they just actually made all the colors available. No chance with the Steam Deck. Taki seems perma-faded. I don't know what that means. This is basically a cheap Android device with a cheap controller. I like the look of this thing. I think this is going to be nice. I just think some of the tactics are a bit desperate, and they didn't need to do that for the first project that they were going to do. They need to garner goodwill with this thing, and it doesn't feel like they are doing this. Maybe I'm almost talking myself out of this now, which is good, because like I could do with $200 to be like this, rather than spending it on another console. Okay, so, and you know, the other thing is, hey, there are other retro devices coming. Don't worry if like you don't get this. There's probably an Anbernic device. There's probably a Powkitty device. There's gonna be lots of devices coming, so I wouldn't worry that much if you don't get this. Though I will say this looks pretty nice. So the early bird Odin Pro, that will be $250, and then I believe the Odin Pro base price, if you want any of the other colors, that's going to be $274. So Odin Pro, $274. You're looking at very close to Steam Deck pricing now if you get the Odin Pro. And look, they're going to sell a lot of these things because it's people. You know, when you're around $200, $300, I think people are still comfortable paying $200 for something. This like Indiegogo campaigns, there's Kickstarter campaigns for so many different things. Like people are paying like $400 or $500 for board games. So to buy a system like this for like $200, I think people are going to shell out. Okay, so they also have something called a super pack, and these are the super packs here. There's an Odin based super pack. Now they have all the colors available, so I don't know if that means that you'll be able to get, say, like the Odin light in any of these colors, or the Odin base in any of the light colors. That's what it looks like from this picture. But anyway, let's have a look at see what these what the Odin super pack is going to come with. So it has the Odin base. It has the super dock. It has the HDMI cable, screen protector, hard shell, bag, headphones, and charger. So the charger isn't coming with the base model, I think. So you'll just have to charge it through, like, you know, your PC or another charger that you have at home. Now the thing is, Odin Base and Odin Pro will be shipping in November 2021, and the Odin Lite will be shipping in December. And the Odin, now let me just, I'm sorry to like scroll up and down. Okay, the Odin Lite Super Pack is going to cost $269 US. The Odin Base Super Pack is going to cost $299 US, and the Odin Pro Super Pack is going to cost $330 or $329. And I think that's at the point where I kind of tap out and say, okay, I'm just going to wait for the Steam Deck. $329 versus $399 Steam Deck. I will buy the Steam Deck any day over this. The thing is, like, I made a Odin video yesterday, right? And I don't think my style is gonna please everybody. You know, I just do news videos. Some people might click on it and think, hey, maybe I have, you know, the device, and then they just see a talking head video and it's like, hey, I even had somebody say, oh, you don't have the device, so you don't know what you're talking about. That was in my A&EO video. And then they'll go and dislike the video. And all I really wanted to do was just share some information that I found on the internet and get a discussion going, because that's what I really want. Like, I used to be on discussion forums, and then I figured, okay, well, maybe I'll make my own YouTube channel, and then that could be like a discussion thread where we can talk about some of this stuff. And that's my idea with this channel, just to get people commenting in the comments. And then I'm in the comments a lot for a lot of these. Like you can see, I basically reply to most people. It's not every video, but you know, when I'm excited about something, I'll definitely be in there talking about it with everyone else. But anyway, so then, and I don't want to talk about likes, dislikes too much anyway, but I almost feel like some people dislike it because there's some sort of console warring happening. Like, if they dislike this video, then it's kind of like they want Steam to do well, or they want Microsoft to do well, or they just want Sony to do well. Or if you don't agree with their opinion, then they dislike the video. It's not so bad if they disagree with the opinion and dislike the video. But I think when you dislike a product, then it's just a... well, when you dislike a video, I think everybody knows what happens. Like, then less people will go and watch the video. If you dislike the video, less people will go and watch it. So it makes it harder for people to find that video, especially if there are actually people who are interested in the Odin, then they can't find the video as easy. So that's the only problem I have. Like, but again, like, there's nothing I can do about like, dislike. I actually like the fact that it does. Sometimes I kind of don't, because yeah, people can use that to manipulate everything. I wish it kind of didn't have that much of an effect where the video lands in terms of search and stuff. But yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, if people it's just like people kind of use that system to barrack for their consoles that they like. It's almost like they have this. They want Microsoft to win, or they want Sony to win. So therefore, they'll go around and then just dislike all of the Microsoft videos, no matter what you say. So that's kind of like the only thing that I have. Like, people are overusing this dislike thing. Okay, so what else can I say about this Odin thing? Well, I think I pretty much covered everything about this Odin thing. I don't know. Do you guys have anything about the Odin? It says here, I'm going with a 256 gigabytes Steam Deck, first quarter 2022, best price ratio in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's a pretty nice system there. I think all of those, there are reasons to get any of those systems. Say like for the 64 gigabytes, if you just want a system that just plays some indie and retro games, that $399 system is perfect. And I don't think the loading is going to be that big of an issue. The loading is only going to take effect if you play some of the more recent games. Then you have the 256 gigabyte version, which is I think $529, so $500. So I think that's a really good system as well. And obviously, if you want a bit more storage, though, I wouldn't just get it for the storage. The 512 gigabyte version is also going to be great as well. And I can see people getting all of the different systems. Don Draper, the dock price. The dock price is $50. Hey, it almost feels like they gone missing here. Look, it used to be here, but it's not there anymore. So I don't know what's happened. Oh, well, it's back now. It's very weird. So 390 Hong Kong dollars is 50 US dollars. But yeah, I totally agree. Odin should have gone 169 with actual volume. Well, the thing is, they don't want to make any more than they're going to sell. This is why they go on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. So they get the exact number that they're going to make, and then they just make that plus, say, like 10-20% that they're going to sell at retail. And then that's going to be about it. I think this might only sell, like, say, it'll be less than 50,000 units for sure. I haven't really kept up with like all of the other handhelds that have come onto Kickstarter. So I think, but that's my best guess is that it's probably going to be about like 50,000 units, which is not a whole lot, and which is why the prices are the way they are. Like, I think the price is okay. If this was actually at $199 as base model, and this was available for everyone, I think that would be okay. But they kind of want to get like an extra $20 out of everybody, which they shouldn't have done it. And I think I've said that like about 5 times, which is probably where I'm going to stop this. So in terms of the stream, look, I've got another kid like right here waiting to terrorize this stream. So we're going to call it a day here. We're going to do the Elgato Streamdeck next time. This is the Elgato. You're not daddy's, bro. Let me see where I can. Okay, here we go. This is the Elgato Streamdeck here. The camera's already been like moved across. So we'll do this in another live stream. Yeah, that's the way that's basically how the stream is going. But yeah, so I'll keep it going for another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to turn the stream off because I got the kid here, and he's obviously ready for some homework. But I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you have any questions, ask them now. Yeah. So he's going to start annoying everybody, and I think everyone's just going to leave the stream anyway. Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. No, I gotta go. Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. You're annoying everyone now. So yeah, any other questions, and then we're gonna call it a day here. Taki Udon mentioned in his Odin dock testing that you could plug in any device with USB-C, possibly alluding to Switch support. I think. Mine probably work on this. It could, but yeah. As far as I know, it was up to Wii, and it probably couldn't do Wii U. Because the Wii U has, I think it was 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes of RAM. I can't remember. I think it was 4 gigabytes. Although, I think it's 2 gigabytes because the Switch has 4 gigabytes. It could possibly, but yeah, we don't really know. Okay, so I think that's about all the questions there. Thank you everybody for joining in today in the live stream. I know I rambled on a lot again, and it's gone over 2 hours. But that's going to be it for this one. Check out all my videos on my site, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next stream. Thank you very much for watching.
Kimiko.